Good afternoon, morning, noon, day, night. Hope everybody's doing well. Today's video, I'm doing a Silver VOD review, where I review Silver gameplay, which I guess that would be explained in the Silver VOD review. If you like the video, hit the like button, sub to the channel if you haven't, and I hope you all have an amazing day. We're gonna start right here. Now, obviously, this is gonna be more of like the team play. Holding right here, specifically, at this exact choke is definitely not the ideal spot for eventually. I think at this rank, this type of team fights will happen, which is perfectly fine. But as you climb, a lot of the fights will be more back here initially, and then if you want to engage in them, you engage them like if they're spamming, then you engage on them here. But I mean, like, I can't really even be like, oh yeah, I mean, this isn't, because honestly, it's just gonna be everything I've seen. Even when I did VOD reviews last year, a lot of teams like to take fights right at the choke rather than like spam and then kind of like, you know, speed boost it and stuff like that. So if anything, it's a good play to play with your team here. Okay, sorry.
Time to raise my APM.
Okay, so that's something we can work on there. So in that situation, using your flight right here is not the best play, because if they even remotely, I mean, they really can't stun you, but if you, when you fly like that and use your flight, you have no way of getting out, right? So like basically if you are under the bridge here and then you fly around the corner here and then go through here and then back around, what happens is you'll lose your flight here and then you have no way of getting out. So let's say that during that time they get aggressive, which obviously, once again, this is just more to get you in the habit of like not doing those type of plays. If you watch here, they're back here, right? But if they were even remotely close here and they did that play, and I think there was somebody to the right here, there's a good chance you can get demech there and pretty much just you're gonna be out of that fight. So try not to do it in this room. I don't mind, like, if you're gonna fly anywhere, you can fly up here. Why can you fly up here is because if you're up here, you can shoot Junkrat and then you can get away after. Even if you don't have flight, there's not many heroes on their team that can get to you, right? The only two heroes that can get to you are Junkrat, and then if Mercy goes with Junkrat up to you. So a lot of the time I would recommend not just like when you decide to use flight as D.Va, don't like do this, because you got to think about like what happens if they end up. Now, once again, they're not close, so I get that part of it, but get in the habit of not doing this flight would be really good.
Time to raise my APM.
And then that goes with the DM usage. So we'll talk about this very quickly, because I talk about it all the time with D.Va when people ask for advice on D.Va. People go, how do I get better at D.Va? Now, I do this sometimes, and you'll see me do it sometimes, where I just use my DM when I shouldn't. You don't have to really use any DM there because nothing was really happening. But a lot of the reason why you use the DM, there is because you just use your flight around that corner, where you just flew kind of around the corner for like, you're just like, hey, what's going on? You use your DM because you were afraid you're gonna take damage, when reality, if you don't do those two things there, you won't have to use your DM. DM usage and flight control is the biggest part of playing D.Va. Like honestly, I've talked about this before. Yeah, I talked about it yesterday. People are asking about like aim in general. Your aim will come with time, and a lot of that is finding the right sensitivity, which obviously like everybody's different with sensitivity. To give you an idea, I play on a hard pad and I have 17 cents, right? So everybody has different sense that works for them. So that will come with time, but your movement and your flight control as D.Va will make you a much better D.Va over time, because when you have good flight control, it's harder to demech you. And you also, when you have a lot of DM and good DM management, which is defense matrix management, you'll be able to basically, at least the way I see it, is you'll basically be able to have the other team feel like you always have DM. Basically, doing that play there is the reason why you ended up using all your DM, because you were afraid you're going to take damage. Love it, by the way. Right there. That was good. The DM usage was a little bit off, but like, you ate the fire strike. After, I just want to point out, a lot of the time with defense matrix, okay? And this is just, once again, with defense matrix, you have to look at what you're playing against. After you eat the fire strike, you don't have to really do anything there with your DM, right? Because unless Junkrat's getting a really good spam in there, which Junkrat isn't, you can then let your DM go. But going up top on high ground and flying up there with your Echo, great play. I like that. You're taking map control with your Echo, which then supports your Echo and gives you the opportunity to help your team. So I like this. I like this. one thing we don't want to do here, and once again, I can already kind of tell a couple things we can work on. When Ryan is right here, and I can do it, once again, once you get better flight control as D.Va, and I can already tell you right now, one thing I can help with a ton here is working on your flight management, like as D.Va. When Ryan's in front of you right there, you don't need to kind of go for this like little like, this is Silver. You don't need to go for like this play right here, because the damage that you do as D.Va in comparison to, and so to give you an idea, D.Va used to do a ton of damage when you would fly into them. Now it doesn't do as much damage. So against Reinhardt right there, you don't need to do that, like that play to fly into them, because Ryan also has, I can understand if you're trying to like boop a Junkrat back to like get some survivability. It's not recommended, but I can understand that a little bit. But Ryan has also knockback resistance, okay? So with Ryan having knockback resistance, Ryan's not even gonna really move right there. Obviously Ryan went back a little bit. That's because a bunch of stuff's happened at the same time. You can just kill the Ryan there, and then you save that flight and you can fly out. Once again, always think about, when I play D.Va, you gotta think about two things. You gotta think about when you use your flight, where you're gonna go, and if it doesn't go that way, how can you escape without losing your back? And obviously that's not gonna happen all the time, but yeah, I would just recommend not doing the flight as much. Now obviously it helps you have a Sigma alive there that can shield for you, but
My ultimate is charged.
okay. Good job about you and your Mercy right there. Nice play. Nice play.
Fully operational.
Well, you mentioned aim in general. I think it's more about sensitivity. That was a good play though. It's more about sensitivity at that point. It's just finding the right sense. I can't really tell, but it looks like the sense might be a little bit too high. So a lot of the time I always talk about when it's either too high or it's too low. The problem is that you see when they're going way far to the left, sometimes it might be too high too. I'll show you. So why it looks slow on the sense, it looks like more what's happening is that when they're swiping, they're going way past them.
I'm ready to
Does that make sense?
I'll
show you in a second. I could be wrong. Could be too low too. It's one of the two. But whenever I see people over aim like that, where they go too far to the left, I feel like it might be a little bit too high. It means that when they're actually having to do the little small movements, they're doing it way too much. So it will look slow, but then it will be actually fast. You'll see. Is it console? I don't think so. I'll look a little bit more at the aim there and talk about sensitivity. Chat. Oh, the diva went to go get the Mercy, but then can we get a heart in the chat for Shadow Dragon over here? They went to go get the Mercy. So what diva was doing right there is they were going to get the, so basically you can go get your Mercy in spawn, so Mercy can fly to you. So what the diva was doing was diva was going back to get the Mercy. they just went by him. Aw. In that situation where there was just Zarya and Moira left and you were kind of out of the team fight, it's okay to fly into the team at that point and do a little bit more damage. When you're at that range, you're not really doing as much damage as you want to. And if you want to be there to help your team a little bit, you can fly in rather than use your flight a little bit later to go for the Moira. You'll be able to get both of them at that point. So try to fly in there a little bit earlier with your team, because in those late fights, the best thing you can do is when you have like a 5v2 is make sure nobody else dies. So when you play that far back, it's okay if you become the, like if Zarya goes for you at that point, that's fine, because nobody else in your team can die. And let's just say Zarya is fully charged and is gonna kill somebody there. If it's diva, at the very least, you'll be baby diva, because more than likely they'll be dead before you're able to do that. So remember that sometimes. And then second, that was a good play going back to get your Mercy. That's very important in a lot of fights. Going back to get your Mercy there is really, really like key. Because you can get Mercy back a lot faster, and it's just a good habit to get into when you're playing diva before the next team fight starts. So that was a good play. So good job on that one. Good job on that one. That was really good. And just to touch on this again, people are going to talk about how they're fighting so close to the choke. I don't think really like focusing on that's going to be the big thing, because I think that's more of a teamwork thing. And I just imagine the teamwork in Silver just isn't as there at this point. It's more about like the individual plays than it is about like the teamwork aspect. It's good to be a good teammate with that, but I mean, that's what the Diva's doing is playing with the team, but yeah. Oh, they wanted the Diva bomb right there. No matter what happens this team fight, we gotta get out of the habit of flying into their team like that, because I mean, in theory, you can look at this and go, yeah, he killed a Zarya. I'm more likely gonna kill the Zarya, right? But I wouldn't recommend flying into the team like that. It can work in certain situations, but was there even a pick here? I just want to see. Okay, there wasn't even a, wait, I guess Junkrat was down. I mean, Junkrat is coming back from spawn. But if you look at the position in here in general, you know, this is the type of team fight where they could turn this fight around and win. And yes, you do have ultimate, but like, this room is not where you want to have that ultimate be, even if you survive. You can get away with plays like that sometimes if you have really good like flight control too. So for example, say you fly in here and then you're able to immediately fly out up here after you get your cooldown, or like go through this way really easily, then you can get away with it a little bit more. But as of right now, I would recommend just not doing that as much. Good job getting out there. That was good. Because there was an opportunity there where it looked like you could went into their team. That was good. Good play. McLovin, thank you for the prime stuff. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I usually would say wow, 36 months. That's
Chat.
almost a year.
Did you see what happened to the Did you see what happened to the Diva bomb, chat? Something that I've done sometimes. If Reinhardt is charging at you, do not Diva bomb. You go, why not? I'll show you why. You can charge Diva bomb. And if they immediately are charging you when they do it, the Diva bomb will not get any kills on the Rein. The Rein does die. Now we can argue that the Rein's diving into the backline last second. Still, with the Moira ultimate, which I don't know how this is gonna go team fight wise, Rein could survive. You said it still got Rein killed. You know what got Reinhardt killed? The charge. That's what got the Reinhardt killed. Anyway, continue on. So this is what happens when you ult into a Reinhardt. Oh, that's great. That's great. All right, so what you just did right here, I want to show this one time, and a lot of divas do this, and I used to do this. What are we gonna call this? I don't even know what I call this. We're gonna call this I have no idea where they're at, so I'm gonna use my rockets randomly, hoping that they'll do something. I used to do this a lot. I do it a lot less. I still do it sometimes. You don't know what to do in a team fight. You see a bunch of people and you just start rocketing. You haven't reached to the point where your rockets will get much value to begin with, because you can actually burst with your rockets in general. So like when you get close, you can use your rockets to burst. So a lot of the time you'll be able to do that increased damage, right? So what happens is, and I do this sometimes, you pretty much waste your rockets. Now, you did see a Moira and a Reaper there, but at the distance you were at, it's not gonna get much value to begin with.
Shoot you down.
30 seconds remaining.
Not sure if I got the reference. No, I got the reference. I know. I know what that's from. Listen, I'm hip and current. Right? Is that how it is? Was that what it's supposed to be? Really not much I can say in this overtime fight. Once again, I can tell you right now. So far what I've seen, and I always, at the end of every VOD review, I generally will summarize what I think needs to be worked on. I already know what Diva's gonna have to work on. At this point, I have an idea, and we'll kind of go from there. So. These overtime fights are tough to kind of really... Overtime fights can just be wild. People always talk about, I've had people mention this too before, they're like, well, why would you send in a VOD of, you know, you win it, right? But honestly, when we watched that, and look what I just paused at. Nice. There was a lot to work on here. So even with the win here, like I still think there's a lot to work on. Like there's a ton we just saw that we can already like help improve on.
Defend objective A.
Okay. There wasn't much I could really like comment on there because it was just one of those fights that like it started with the Bastion sitting on top of a bridge and then the Bastion got rolled and then the Bastion came back and then started dancing. To summarize here, quick thing you can work on. I'm gonna show you right now. I don't know if your sensitivity is too high or too low. At the end, it looked like it was too low right there. So one thing you might want to do is up your sensitivity a little bit, which will help a little bit with your movement. Now, two things you can work on. One, I want to point out, positioning is always key. So you don't want to fly into a team, but if you want to work on your flight control, you can go into a server, do this, fly around a little bit, and then see if you can land up here every single time. A lot of the mistakes that you were making there was because you were using your diva flight, but you were pretty much going nowhere with it, and you would end up just being stuck, and you would have to use a bunch of your DM. Defense matrix management. Remember, you want to stop burst damage, not random damage, not Zarya beaming, not, you know, trying to prevent damage that you can't even prevent. A lot of the time, and don't get me wrong, people all the time will be like, why are you DMing Zarya? At that point, I'm usually DMing the heals or the damage coming in on me from someone else. The better you get at your flight control as D.Va, the better you'll be. You'll just get better at D.Va because you're able to make these plays where you're like, okay, I want to go in, you know, I want to go for this. Like for example, you can be like, oh, I'm gonna go for this training bot. Never mind, I gotta get out. I gotta get out. You do a bunch of damage, they have to heal, and you're out of the fight, right? But when you do this, you might be able to get this kill, but they're gonna kill you. So just work on that. And then sensitivity-wise, your sensitivity, I cannot tell. I don't know what your sensitivity settings are, but it looks like it was a little bit too low. Upping it by just a little bit might help a ton because a lot of the time you were behind on the target. And when you can get a little bit on the aim there, that'll help with your flight control and it'll help with your aim.